Sometimes I think about an image I want to create, and then I'm like, how would I be able to depict that for someone who didn't have 20/20 vision? Sometimes in terms of like sensors and textures, I kind of like to think almost like someone who doesn't have their sight. You know, how would you touch an image if you were blind? I'm really interested in people's relationships with touch, I think, and texture and like how we choose to experience things. Smooth, curved shapes and beautiful lighting. Kind of out of this world textures, like textures that look almost too perfect. That's something else that I think is a running theme in my work, is kind of like looking at perfection and then deconstructing it. Really nice like that. For the fifth sense, I'm creating a digital interactive experience. It's kind of going to be similar to a video game in terms of there's going to be different spaces that you enter and experience. It's browser-based, and it's not just a flat image, it's something much more physical. I feel like I'm very much known for my digital work and kind of rendered imagery and using 3D rendering software. I've been working with developers and animators who've kind of helped me bring everything to life. I brought some fabrics to the studio and was just like, feel this is so beautiful. How can we make this into something digital and something moving? Like, how can you communicate that? For me, number 5 Low really meant a reimagining of a classic fragrance, which is exactly what we're doing with this project in terms of reimagining fragrance as a digital art form. I feel like this whole project has kind of been going back to a childlike sense of play and like creating an experience that still has an element of surprise to it. You know, like when we're thinking in a digital sense, it's like, oh, let's make some bubbles, but let's not make them pop like normal bubbles, you know? So everything feels like new and exciting for once.
The internet is like the biggest gallery, literally, in the world because everyone's there. It was like the mid-90s, and it was new and fresh, and it was kind of this like Wild West thing. So in my teens, I started using the web, and I kind of learned how to code. And then I dove into this community and this scene of people that aren't afraid to break things or appropriate things or question things. When you have a certain fluency in code, it allows you to create things in a way that you can't without, but it's also a medium. And now we're looking at artists who are utilizing the net and utilizing code because it's like cheap and free and everywhere. Now it's not just this single kind of relationship of it creates a program, but now people are using it in ways that create really beautiful pieces of work or can create and kind of encapsulate culture, I think, in ways that more traditional art couldn't before. I did really like GTA and Halo and stuff in college. I really used to like Mario Brothers and stuff. When you have a show in an institution or a museum or a gallery, the majority of people that will view it online. So you always have to think about how your work is viewed or how you'll contextualize it or if it makes sense to the online community. We're at a point with programming and coding that it's becoming a tool where things are possible, like machines are outlearning intelligence of people. That moment right now is such a great place to be.
The Chinese internet is very special because there's limits, there's certain stuff that you cannot access, but because of the limit, people get really creative. I feel very privileged to experience the develop of internet, when there's online and offline, and now it's just you're always online. There's no way you can really be offline. At this point, internet gave access to everybody, so it's an icon of our age. For us, it's the internet age. I don't have a special interest in high technology or low technology in a way. I think I'm more interested in coding. Coding to me is like logic and rules, and if you know the right coding, you can break the logic and break the boundaries.
I think I could spend a lifetime just learning about people's relationships with anything digital. The fact that I would try and go to bed, I would try and meditate, and it felt like there was a Wi-Fi hotspot in my brain and I would never not be connected. And it was just like, this is it. It's never not going to be like this. Music is such an important element because without it, nothing will feel interactive. You'll have these objects that you can play with, but without the sound, it's like, is it really there? We worked with the music producer Fatima Al Qadiri and the singer Chris Lee. We're all working separately and remotely, but there's this global connection to the project.
The music element is all about telling a story, and I knew that it had to be kind of soft, that it was inhabiting this kind of like soft textural space. I wanted it to have a counterpoint of moods so that when you're making something that is soft, there is a little gruff underneath it. That's the reality of life. We are not all just this one solid mood. I don't think that exists.
我心谢息，我够至此。我第一次看到 Lucy 的作品的时候，非常惊讶，因为她的整个作品带给人的感觉是，我觉得非常有代入感的，而且它的整个画面的色彩非常大胆，会让人觉得，既很有真实性，同时又很超现实，这是我最直观的一个感受。
A lot of my early memories definitely revolve around colour. I think it kind of started with fabric and the fact that fabric kind of has this 3D flexibility that you can't really compare to anything else. Like, I feel like I have lots of dreams just about like the texture of suede or something like that. The reason that I use dyes to find colours is because it's very much an organic process where you're kind of always going to get a different outcome each time. It like brings the colour to life instead of being flat on a screen. One of the key elements that I've really been thinking about a lot throughout the whole project is this idea of making the invisible visible. Mist is about the evaporation of perfume from when it kind of leaves the perfume bottle and kind of lands on the skin, and how everyone has a different interaction to it. So it's very much about molecules and bubbling. Scent is super personal and it can take you to somewhere else instantaneously, and it's something that's very much just connected to how your brain works. You don't really have any control over it.
In terms of human senses, we can hear and we can see, but also it goes to our brain. So our brain reacts to light and sound. But depending how much exposure to light we have, but also depending how much darkness we're exposed before, our senses have contrast. You enter a space, it's open, but it can also come alive. I don't generally think, oh, I want to create something beautiful. It's something that could lead towards that. It's more about the feeling that it is beautiful rather than seeing it's beautiful. With any software or technology you use, you're using your intuitive craft insights to work with that technology. Everyone has a different way of working technology. It really is how you use it. I don't even know I'm doing it. I just get in the zone and I just keep at it. So you say you got a software and you're using the parameters of that software, that's someone that's written it that you're using. But say you write your own parameters, that's your parameters, it's your limits. You get to do what you want with it. There's never an idea really where you're like, I can't do that.
I definitely feel that technology can heighten your senses, and that's something that I've probably been exploring for a while but haven't really realised it. We're making something that is browser-based, it's computer-based, it's digital. We really want to make things that feel like each user has a unique journey and experience. I don't really think that fragrance has been kind of visualized and physicalized in a way like this before. I'm probably more sensitive to things than normal people. Maybe that's what it is. I mean, I love touching everything. I feel like my fingertips are almost as important as my eyes in a lot of ways. I think in texture, shapes, colour. Big swathes of fabric flowing and almost having a liquidous texture to them. Molecules that are burstable and kind of mutate and turn into their own chemical reaction. And then I go on the computer and I make them.